Good evening. Thank you very much for your time.
Good evening, Sammy.
First of all, there are a number of issues discussed at this particular meeting held yesterday, but we'll take it one after the other. But the one dominating media discussion is the decision of the party to elect a flag bearer next year, January 31st, which is an early Congress, and it deviates from the party's tradition of electing from the base before the top, coming to the top. First of all, what went into the decision to start the election process from the top rather instead of down?
Thank you very much. I think that it was captured as part of the recommendations from the Frank Davis committee, and from their report they had given us the rationale. What they said, which council also adopted, was the fact that over the years we've spent a lot of energy on internal elections. And after every internal election, it will leave the party structures bruised. And then we will have a divided front. There will be so many chaos. For instance, if you start from the polling station, everybody who has interest at the polling station elections will quickly go there. And then there will be factions at the polling station, and this same thing will come up to the electoral area level, and then you get to the constituency. For instance, the last electionary cycle, which was from the year 2021 to 2024, we spent 3 years on internal elections. So now, in the wisdom of the Constitutional Amendment Committee, they proposed that we start the presidential primaries first. We elect presidential candidate. The moment you elect a presidential candidate, the entire party will rally around that person. You don't have any rancor at the polling station. There is no rush to cause any problems there, or to even have your own teams there, or to go and create any problem at the polling station. So if you have your running mate, then don't forget that we are in opposition. In fact, even our constitution, Article 13, is quite clear. That gives even National Council the mandate that we need to elect our presidential candidate not later than 24 months before the elections. So we are even within the time. We can even elect our presidential candidate today. But there's also a constitutional provision that the moment you kickstart the process, you need to give 6 months notice before the date of the elections. So clearly there are also processes captured in the Constitution to be followed. But in the wisdom of the Constitutional Amendment Committee, this will help the party. It will reduce drastically the tension, the animosity, the problems we go through all the time. And Council also bought into the rationale behind holding or electing the presidential candidate first, and then also early. So Council also set 31st January for the election of the presidential candidate, and then also we start the elections with the presidential candidate. So that was the main rationale.
The main core of the delegates, which is the polling station executive, they form the majority. I'm reliably informed that their tenure is expected to expire in December. If their tenure should expire in December, on what basis would they be electing the flag bearer in January when their tenure has expired?
Oh, we have had, a lot of convention where, because of maybe transitional processes arising as a result of a constitutional amendment, we've extended the tenure of maybe a group of delegates or some delegates by some few months or even a year. We've done it before. Council has that right. So even if what you are saying is a case, but I know that it's supposed to be in January. So because the last polling station elections we had, the tenure of office will be ending of January. But even given so, we have in our own rules that National Council can vary this particular provision.
Is it a case that the election of a flag bearer is always the issue that brings about disunity in the party? So in order to cure this mischief, let's elect that flag bearer or presidential candidate first.
Same, I've been national youth organizer before. I've been national organizer. I'm still the national organizer. Look, that is the main cause. In fact, as we speak, you can recount the many issues, internal frictions we've had, series of them. You can mention about 3 or 4, and then you know that it is as a result of presidential primaries. Mention any of them. Any of them. In fact, even yesterday, Council even cautioned 2 members of the party. Council cautioned the Bono regional chairman and then also Ernesto Usubempa. And these 2 party leaders, if you go into what they said, clearly it is linked to presidential primaries. In recent times, find out for yourself. Whatever is happening, go on social media, check from our people. You have this group of people supporting this presidential candidate. In fact, at the time when this government had even introduced this Dumso levy, at the time when we are having Western cases of even Galamsey, that is not what even the party base, that is not what even they are interested in. They are interested in who becomes the presidential candidate and who I'm supporting and why I need to denigrate this person. And I mean, it's weakening the party's spirit. Every form of infighting, internal wranglings, every form of it, you will link it to the presidential primaries coming up. So, in the wisdom of the amendment committee, why don't you have it? Get it done so that at least the entire party will know that we are focused. And then you will have the presidential candidate who would have ample time to unite the party, to rally the party around him. Look, he will not have interest in who becomes the polling station chairman. He will not have interest in who becomes the constituency chairman.
Well, that argument has come in. I've heard people make the argument that if you elect a flag bearer, he would then determine who becomes regional chairman, who becomes hold on. I heard people say, that's why I'm posing that question to you.
Okay.
I've heard people say that if you elect a flag bearer, the power of the party will be centered around him or her. That person may have an influence who becomes regional chairman, may have an influence who becomes national chairman, may have an influence who becomes regional secretary or regional organizer or national general secretary or national chairman or even parliamentary candidates. Because if the flag bearer is not in good terms with a particular candidate, because he wields power within the party, can say that no, I don't like this person, I prefer this person rather. So that has been the counter argument over this.
That counter argument for me is flawed. Look, the presidential candidate, how would a presidential candidate weigh his influence on getting a polling station chairman elected, constituency chairman elected, regional chairman elected, more than the person becoming a president? You need everybody on board. Now, the issue is that if you do it the other way around, now we don't have a presidential candidate. The moment you announce a timetable for a polling station elections, every person who is interested in the presidential primaries will run quickly to the polling station, form teams. In fact, at all levels. And by the time they finish the election, the party is fractured. The party is bruised. So any responsible presidential candidate elected will need everybody behind him to win the elections. So I do not think that presidential candidate, his interest will be causing problems in the region, will be causing problems in the constituency, will be causing problems at the polling station, which is your base. That is your base. Look, the presidential candidate cannot pour the entire country by the time we are even having the next elections. He is going to rely on the structures. That is the polling station, electoral area, constituency, region, national, to manage the campaign. So no serious presidential candidate elected would want to foment trouble and cause the party structures to be in disarray, which is going to go against you. In fact, the reasons why we are even expanding the electoral college to add former MMDCs, former constituency executives, former MPs, former regional executives, former national executives, is the fact that anytime any of these personalities serve and they are no more with the party's leadership, it looks like the party neglects them and they feel not part of the system and culminate into apathy. So I do not think that the presidential candidate elected is going to foment trouble, going to create teams. For what? No. He is going to allow the structures to work. So, yes, that argument, anybody at all can make it, but I'm saying that there's a superior point. The person who becomes a presidential candidate, his main motive will be to rally the party, unite the party behind him. So make sure that there is free, fair, transparent elections so that anybody at all who loses or who wins will rally behind you as a presidential candidate. But if your motive is that, yes, I've become a presidential candidate, so I'm going to determine who becomes the national chairman, and then by so doing, you cause problems, you cause disaffection, you fracture the party, you cannot win the elections. I do not think that the presidential candidate who will be elected will be interested in rather causing problems for the party than rather rallying the party behind him to win the elections. Question:
how do you react to people who say that the MPP is too much in a hurry for 2028 election because hold on. You are just coming back from election 2024. The party performed poorly. Instead of the party to sit down and reflect and see where things went wrong, the party is rather focused on election 2028, which is some years ahead. Hello, Nana B. Hello, Nana Boakye. I'm afraid we lost Nana Boakye on the telephone. He's the national organizer of the MPP, and we are talking to you about the MPP's decision to